Your friends are scrolling through short content, but you, my friend, you're here to learn. Welcome to TRS Clips. Let's begin this conversation by talking about the 1946 mutiny. And the reason I ask you that is I was once in a room full of really well-established CEOs, and they were asking me Bollywood gossip because they know I interact with Bollywood stars, so they're like, okay, how's this guy and how's that guy? I was like, that's cool. But do you know that the history we're taught in books is not complete? It's extremely fragmented. And then those guys are like what? So, they don't even believe that we've been taught fragmented history.
Yeah.
And I brought up the 1946 mutiny because it was brought up on the show. And people were shocked. They were like, I can't even believe this happened. This is the first time I'm hearing about it. And these are like established CEOs of multinationals.
Wow.
So
there you go.
Let's start there.
Proved my point.
Yeah. Let's start there.
Yeah, well, I think the best proof of this is Clement Attlee, who was the Prime Minister of Britain when India got her independence in 1947. He comes to India after independence, around 1952 or 53. And he goes to various places. He also goes to Bengal. And there is a, the governor of Bengal, who is also the acting Chief Justice of the High Court there, Fani Bhushan Chakraborty, Justice Chakraborty. He's his host, and Chakraborty asks him, why did you people leave us and got us freedom so quickly? Because no one expected at that time that India would become free so soon. And so he asked him, what were the reasons for you to leave us and go away so quickly? And Chakraborty notes it in his memoirs, whatever Attlee talks about. And Attlee very clearly is supposed to have mentioned that it was the heroics of the Indian National Army, Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose, and ultimately all of it inspiring the mutiny, as they called it, in the Navy, in the Army, units in different parts of India. The British were petrified of a repeat of the 1857, episode, that there'll be a Bagawat, an uprising or insurrection in the British Indian Army. And so he said that was the reason we left the country and went. And Chakraborty is supposed to have egged him on a little more and said, what about the, Quit India movement and the whole non-violent movement of Gandhi, and what was that impact on your final decision to leave this country and go? And Attlee is supposed to have smirked and said, minimal. Those were his words, not mine. So I'm just, and Attlee, it's coming straight from the horse's mouth. There was no need for him to be so condescending or disparaging of anybody because India had already got freedom. It was a candid conversation that the two were having 5-6 years after India's freedom. So I think right from the British horse's mouth, we get to know that it was the heroics of the INA, the naval mutiny, where so many sailors, decided to, go in an uprising in this very city of Mumbai. And that spread across to so many other units, both in the British Indian Army as well as the Navy. Now, mind you, when the Second World War ended, there were about 2.5 million soldiers in the British Indian Army, out of which probably just 10,000 were British. The rest of them were Indian origin. So the revolutionaries, their entire strategy, Ranveer, all through, was to create this insurrection. Even if a 10% of this huge number could be seduced to patriotism and they could switch over to the side of liberating your country, then the edifice of the Raj would collapse, because they were standing here only on the might of the army, the British, army. So I think these people understood that and created that insurrection in the army, which is what, as I said, they did not want 1857 to repeat, where in Kanpur and all those other places, you had mass massacres of Europeans, men, women, and children.
Why didn't this happen earlier?
Why didn't this not happen earlier? I think that constantly there were all these attempts, right from early 1900s, the Gadar movement, which was a transcontinental movement between Canada, San Francisco, the Komagata Maru episode there. All of this was exactly attempts to do this very thing. So the idea was very clear in all these people's minds that this is the only way to liberate the country, because you know the weak point of the British government and how to get them going. And if you actually see very dispassionately, all the reforms or the, anything that the British did to give in more to the Indian demands were preceded by bloody revolutionary, incidents, whether it was the Morley-Minto reforms, the Montagu-Chelmsford reforms, the Government of India Act, and eventually freedom. all of that was preceded by, as I said, violent uprisings. So लातों के भूत बातों से नहीं मानते. So I think this was something that the revolutionaries understood. They tried several times, but for various reasons it didn't succeed. I think Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose and the country owes all its gratitude to him, because he was the catalyst who probably culminated the dreams of all these other revolutionaries who had slogged so hard for so many decades and failed, unfortunately.
You want to highlight the actual incident a little bit?
Which one?
The 1946 incident.
So the 1946 mutiny which started in Bombay. I'm saying Bombay because that's what it was called then. So there were lots of sailors who initially, for the ratings that they had and so on, they were denied that and so on. So that is why they there was a protest on the deck, in the ships here, which they went on hunger strike. They started protesting and so on. But then slowly that entire thing grew into a larger demand, for liberation, and carrying placards of long live Netaji and photographs of Netaji Bose. These people went all over, the city on marches, and common people started joining them in large numbers. And as I said, the flame that was lit in Bombay spread to different places, even South India, Karachi, Jabalpur, different parts of India. And, by then the INA trials had begun in Delhi, the Red Fort, and that too had created a lot of sympathy for the soldiers who had fought in the INA. So I think it was like a bomb that was ticking at that time, and that's what shocked the British and scared them beyond doubt.
You know what sucks is that in our history books,
Yeah.
the event preceding Indian independence that's written about is World War II. So they say in 1945 the British army was tired. Britain itself was tired, and that's why in 1947 they decided to go. They don't highlight immediate causes like this.
Yes.
I question why. Why is this not there in most history textbooks that we read in school?
That's a long answer to that. But, I think after independence, the people who came to power, I think they wanted to ensure that a certain viewpoint about the freedom struggle itself was highlighted. And if anyone who was not part of that so-called mainstream of the non-violent movement, they would not get its due.
And you mean Nehru?
Yes.
You can say it. This isn't television.
Yes.
That's why people are gravitating away from television and on to YouTube.
No, I don't want to bitch about him, but I think some of these strategic, and Machiavellian, attempts that he made to kind of suppress all opposing viewpoints. He was called a great Democrat and a liberal and all that, but then the stifling of voices, the freedom of expression, even a Majroo Sultanpuri, languishing in jail for 1.5 years because he wrote a poem in which he called Nehru Hitler's Chela or something like that, something as innocuous as that. And we say he's a, paragon of freedom of speech. I think that's a little far-fetched, but be it as it may. But, the narrative that was set was that we need to highlight only the non-violent movement and the role of the Congress in it, and anything that doesn't come within this framework, that should not get its due in the history. It should be mentioned, but it should be in passing.
So if you enjoyed this video, make sure you check out this playlist for more videos just like this. It's TRS Clips.